So the shill media websites will love to make you believe that the Bud Light boycott is slowing down, when in fact we are officially in our 6th week of this boycott, one of the most legendary boycotts that happened in quite a while, and we are now seeing that they are down even more percentage than they were the week prior. Even though there was a 1% slowdown in the last week, it has now picked up again, and that's because the conversation refuses to end. We are not going to stop talking about this as much as they want us to talk about this, as much as YouTube wants to start suppressing videos about this. It doesn't matter. We will keep doing videos. We will keep talking about the nonsense and what's going on with Bud Light because they deserve every single bit of it, and this is what they asked for. So we have an article from the New York Post that just came out today at the time of this filming, and it says Bud Light sales plunged nearly 25% in the latest week as rivals steal away customers, rightfully fucking so. So we're gonna get into the article, guys, but of course before we do, just consider giving this video a like so you can push us out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing because we're on our way officially to 20,000 subscribers. It says steep drops in sales of Bud Light continue to worsen for the 6th consecutive week, plunging by nearly 25% since the ill-fated promotion with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. The latest industry data shows sales of the US's #1 beer were down almost 25% for the week ending in May 13th compared to a year ago, slightly worse than the 23.6% dip they suffered a week earlier, according to Bump Williams Consulting and Nielsen IQ Research. This is crazy stuff, man. I honestly am just unbelievably blown away by the fact that people are really, truly boycotting this, and it's people from both sides. I mention this all the time. It's the left, it's the right, it's everybody in between. People are equally hating Bud Light, and they're equally memeing Bud Light. And Bud Light absolutely deserves everything that's happening because, again, you decided to pander to one particular side of the aisle, then you realized you messed up, then you started to pander to the other side of the aisle who you originally set to go F themselves, then you realize that both sides hate you, and now you're in this cluster where you just don't know what to do, and now there's reports of them buying back their beer. I'm going to make a separate video on that, so stay tuned for that. But they're just all over the place. Bud Light does not know what to do to quell the storm, but they don't realize. See, this is the problem. They don't realize that there is no quelling the storm. You cannot stop it. Once it begins, there is no stopping it until you essentially just full-on admit defeat. It says Michelob Ultra sales were off 2.9% versus a year ago in the latest week, in line with the drop a week earlier, according to Bump Williams' analysis of Nielsen IQ data. Sales of Budweiser, last year's #7 beer with more than $1.8 billion in sales, were down almost 10% in each of the 2 most recent weeks. Think about that. The fact that they did $1.8 billion in sales, and they decided to go woke. Apparently, it wasn't enough for them. I just don't understand. I will continue to question it until this conversation eventually ends, whenever that is. Obviously, we don't want it to, but whenever that conversation ends, I'm going to continue to question, why did you do this? You didn't do it for ESG scores because you already had a 100% perfect score with ESG. So there's no reason to do it if you already had a perfect score. So you didn't do it for the score. You didn't do it for the money, clearly, because you're losing money left and right. So what'd you do it for? What'd you do it for? Virtue signaling, likes and retweets on Twitter, so you can seem progressive, so you can hope to garner a little bit of a younger clientele, because clearly your drinkers are too old, according to you? Like, what did you do this for? Are you just narcissist? Did you hire a super narcissist? Is that what Alyssa is? Alyssa's just a massive narcissist that just had to make this into an inclusivity thing because clearly the brand was a fratty brand, according to her, even though she very much engaged in fratty behavior herself, as posted online, which I thought was hilarious, by the way. Bud Light is sick, Bump Williams founder, the consultancy said on the US's top-selling beer, which raked in $4.8 billion in sales last year. It's now infected other healthy brands within the InBev portfolio, and that's a bigger problem in that mind. I agree with that 100%. You got a much bigger issue than Bud Light themselves, because the problem is now this infection is going to spread to your other brands within Anheuser-Busch. And by Anheuser-Busch as a whole has a hell of a storm coming to them, and it's not just Bud Light related. It might be Bud Light caused. It might have started with Bud Light, but the swarm is coming for their other brands, their stock, everything. They have such a shitstorm coming that they are trying to do anything that they can to deflect or solve the problem, but unfortunately for them, they have yet to realize that there is just no solving the problem. The numbers have consistently stayed at about a 20 to 30% ratio in sales loss, and I don't think it's going to change. I think it might dip and flatline at 20%, but I don't think it's going to go below or above that. I think it's going to stay consistently at there. So think about that. You used Dylan Mulvaney to try to garner more of a younger audience, and not only did you not gain that audience and clientele, but you lost 20% of your customers. You absolute morons. Think about that. It is insane numbers to just I'm sure that they're that the CEOs are probably there just scratching their head trying to figure out how can they go about this? Do they remain silent? Do they come out and try to just double down? Do they try to come out and disavow Dylan Mulvaney and LGBTQ? Like, what do you do? I want to see what they do in Pride Month. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I cannot wait to see what Bud Light does in Pride Month. It's going to be fantastic, and I damn sure we're going to report on it. So it says sales of Busch Light were down 7% compared to 0.3% decline the previous week, while Anheuser-Busch's natural light sales were down by 2.8% in the week ending in May 13th compared to a 2.5% decline the previous week. Meanwhile, Anheuser-Busch's competitors are guzzling market share, with Coors Light up 23%. There is no, bro, I'm telling you, there is no way that that's a coincidence. Coors Light is up in the same percentage that Bud Light is down. There is no way that that is a coincidence. It is very clear that Bud Light drinkers and previous customers at Bud Light had decided to say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to take my money elsewhere. And again, I don't even think at this point you can even call this a boycott anymore. I think it's literally just a transition in consumer activity. Like, consumers have decided to take their money elsewhere. It is a free market after all. And you're not selling something that is considered a rarity or gold. You are selling beer. You are selling subpar, simplistic beer. So there is plenty of other people who are going to offer that product and that service. There's thousands of other beers out there. So there's no reason why they will want to stick around with you if you decided to make your statement. Why did you do that? Who knows? It's the most stupid thing in the world, but you made it, and you got to live in your bed now. That's what it is. It says Bud Light has lost 110 million in sales volumes year to date compared to the same period last year. The number of Bud Light cases sold was down almost 30% in the week ended May 13th. Oh my God. From a year ago, compared to 27.7% decline the previous week. It went up. It went up. The numbers went up. Oh my God. They're almost at a 30% drop week after week. Can you imagine what that means for their bottom dollar? A 30% drop week after week. Wow. That is painful. And you did all of this for this guy. You did all of this for this guy. That was your decision. You did all of this just to come out and say, hey, we want to celebrate this guy grifting for 365 days. That was your decision. It was amazing. The timing couldn't be worse for Belgium-based conglomerate. Beer is most in demand in the summer months, and key drinking season kicks off on Memorial Day weekend. If Bud Light doesn't stop the bleeding now, it runs the risk of losing the entire 3 months of the high demand for beer, Williams said. Anheuser-Busch's 385 distributors are feeling the most pain, imploring customers and businesses alike to look past the Mulvaney flap and understand how the backlash is hurting local businesses. We will not. We will not do that. And I am unfortunately sorry that you have to be the casualty of war, so to speak. But these companies, your corporate company has decided to take a stance that they did not have to take. Your corporate company that you rely so much on has decided to say people like you are not worth it enough to protect and make sure that your paycheck continues to come in. They decided to say, nope, it's more important to pander to the transgender people and LGBTQ than it is to make sure our wholesalers are able to feed their families. That was their decision, and now, unfortunately, you are going to have to burn with that decision. I hate to see it. I really hate to see these small businesses lose because I know they're innocent. They're just wholesalers trying to sell a product, and I get that. But ultimately, the product you're trying to sell, you might want to end up changing it now because at this point, that corporation has decided to say, screw you, you're not worth it anymore, and their customers aren't worth it anymore. So we're going to continue to enjoy the absolute fallout that is Bud Light, and I hope you guys continue to join me for that coverage. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.